Welcome to another episode of War Hero to Superhero, helping military, veterans, and first responders transform their lives from the bedroom to the boardroom. So welcome to your virtual boardroom. And yesterday we were talking about why don't we have fun? Because we need to have fun. Because we're working in the boardroom for 40 flippin' years. Average person after college, 22 to 25 years old, is working about 50 hours a week. And we're working, and I checked my math this time, I was right, 10,000 days in 40 years. And then about 100,000 hours, 6 million minutes. That's a lot of minutes to go over and work. Outside of sleep, we spend the majority of our adult lives at work. So we talked about yesterday about the roadblocks that we hit up yesterday. Now we're going to talk about how to go break those roadblocks, because we just don't want to be just trading dollars for hours. You might want to be that employee. You might want to be that self-employee, business owner, or investor out of Robert Kiyosaki's model of rich dad, poor dad in the cash flow quadrant. But no matter what it is, you want to be able to have fun while you're trading those dollars for hours or trading dollars for value, whatever mindset that you're looking at. Because when you retire, your pay goes down to 1/2 to 1/3, unless you're an entrepreneur, typically. So no matter where you sit in the spectrum, fun is essential to thrive in life. And we talked about 6 different roadblocks yesterday. So we're not going to focus just on why that is not true, why we're not having fun. We're going to focus on the roadblock and then also take it out of the way and drill it down, take it down, make it explode, push it out of the way, whatever it is, to get out of those roadblocks. So we're going to refresh the mind about the roadblocks we talked about yesterday, and then we're going to jump in for solutions, because we want you to have fun. I actually had fun today by going over and doing a workout on the Oculus before coming home today. But that's not the only solution. We're going to go into some of those solutions, and we'd love for you to share your solutions on how you infuse fun at work. Because if you're not having fun at work, the long term is might need to take some of these solutions to go over and go. So we talked about yesterday, roadblock number 1, you don't know how to. Maybe it's something you've never been taught. Maybe it's never been an environment. Maybe you went straight into Walmart or McDonald's or a grocery store, or you went into the industry of the kitchen and everything was just like grind, and you didn't know how to, or you didn't learn fun at home, and you didn't learn fun with as a family and everything else, and everything was stressed out. Because usually whatever values that are put in front of us, we catch those values. We don't catch them all. Values are caught, not taught. So maybe you caught the value of not having fun, so you don't know how to go do that at work. And you might be that worker, you might be that supervisor, you might be that manager. When you go up the food chain and go up, it's even more important to be an example of that. So here is some of the ways to break that roadblock. Number 1, practice at home. The safest place to go have fun with the least amount of consequences is actually in your bedroom with your spouse, with your kids, and whoever is living in your home at the time. Our father-in-law has now moved, so we are now just a nuclear family of the 4 kids plus me and wifey. So practice at home. What we're doing today with the family is that we've now reinstituted a conditional and an unconditional family night. Tonight is the conditional one because it's during the week, it's during school. So if they get done all their stuff and they're ready to go, we're going to go practice having fun at home. And when you practice fun at home, then those ideas and the mindset can go over and change to go over and to do that at work. But also changing your mindset. Just because culturally your place might not be fun, that doesn't mean you can't go change your mindset and going over and finding fun little ways, the things that are entertaining. Some things can be really daunting. Going over and changing your mindset and maybe adding music, or maybe you're going breaking up and doing PT. That's kind of my version of fun. Or going over and maybe going away from your desk and going to lunch. Those types of things. Changing your mindset. It all starts over here. These two are interlinked. Your mindset and your heart are linked together. So when you start working here, you also got to work here, both together. So practice in your safe place where your heart is most safe, which is usually in the bedroom or in the living room. So you want to practice it that way. Not saying your boardrooms can't be safe. That's another topic, another time. But changing your mindset and practicing at home is going to go help you if you don't know how to have fun, especially if you don't know how to do it in the boardroom. Because once you practice at home and it starts becoming normative, it will go over and can become a normative and overflow from bedroom to boardroom. We talked about roadblock number 2 yesterday. You don't like your job or like the job. Might be your current job, might be your past job. You might not like it because they're not having fun, or you might like it not like it because it's too much fun and it's not enough task, or people don't stay focused, or it's catty or political or whatever it is. This next suggestion, again, I want you to think about this one, but this is probably the one that's most likely to that we recommend as a roadblock. You can change the job or your focus. So weighing those pros and cons and seeing where you're at. There is a big shift in movement now after COVID of people doing this exodus from different boardrooms. I've been seeing articles across Facebook and LinkedIn and everything else that is a movement. I would say this is prime time right now. The market is open. It's fresh. There's a lot of new innovative ideas. The digital market is opened. A lot of people are going to AVOD, which is advertising video on demand, and video platforms are opening. There's digital places are opening, multi-level marketing, sales, those types of things. There is a lot of opportunities for you to either work at home or work in virtual teams or anything else. Doesn't mean you have to leave the job, but that might be one of the considerations, is that you might not like that job for a long time. The average person changes their jobs 5 to 7 years. And us as veterans, when we come out of service, or first responders, and we go into our first non-first responder or veteran or government job, is we put these fuzzy shackles on, and they're usually pink or blue or whatever color you want to go over and choose. And we put them on and we're like, we have to be committed. We have to stay in the job. No, you don't. When you're in an enlistment or in a commission, you had set dates, you had set rules and everything else. And when you met those obligations, you were done. In a civilian job, you can stay as short or as long as they want you. That's the thing. There's no real consequences. The standard rule is just to give 2 weeks. But sometimes it's not always just changing the job. You might go change the job and then go find out you're having the same problem. You're not having fun. It's not exciting, everything else. Maybe it's your focus. Maybe it's your motivation. Maybe it's your attitude. Maybe it's something. But those two things, it's you driven. You can go over and change the job or change your focus, or maybe both. Go over and change your job and then also change your focus. Maybe your primary motivation of having fun maybe doesn't need to be from work. The most amount of fun you should be having is in the bedroom with your spouse, and then an outpouring to your kids in the living room. And then work should be the most fun. Not the most fun. It should be the overpouring of fun. If your room, if you're looking for that at work, maybe there's some bedroom and living room ops that you need to go over and deal with. Maybe you need to go over and find a consultant. Maybe have a 20-minute conversation with us, because sometimes you might find out the reason why you might not be having fun, even if you change the job, is because your focus is in the wrong place of getting the most amount of fulfillment in your life. The most amount of your fulfillment should be coming out of your bedroom and living room relationships, and then outpouring into the boardroom. We talked about roadblock number 3 yesterday. You don't like the people. You might have a person like me, and he or she is too energetic, or maybe a person that's opposite of me, that they don't have enough energy. Maybe they're way too task oriented, and I talk to them and it's like grueling, or it's always a roadblock. It's always everything is in the way. Maybe it's that particular thing. This particular roadblock, to take the barrier out, is to learn about yourself first and then others. There's a multitude of different ways to go over and do that. You can read Dr. Gary Chapman's book, The 5 Love Languages. You can go over and read our book, Leave No Marriage Behind, in chapter 2, talking about people puzzles. You can go do the DISC model of human behavior, or bank code, or the flags, or the colors, any personality or character book, strength finders, those types of things. Maybe it's a communication book about 22 talk shifts. That's been a book I've been reading recently on how to say something compared to others, because we can trigger a lot of strife and a lot of problems just by doing this. You are fill in the blank. If I say you are awesome, then I'm giving you the attributes and laying on that you're awesome. And if I say you are stupid, then I am laying all the attributes of stupid, which most people get the emotional definition. They don't get the logical definition. Stupid means lacking knowledge or wisdom. I am mechanically dumb. I mean, mechanically stupid. Sorry, I was mechanically stupid by saying I'm mechanically dumb. I lack knowledge and wisdom and how to put this pen together. I lack knowledge and wisdom putting a car together. I lack knowledge and wisdom of anything that IKEA puts out there. Love their store. I don't get it. I just survive. So, but the thing is that if I'm not learning about myself and what I like and what I don't like, what goes over and irritates me, not irritates me, and then also the values and preferences of others, that's the reason why most people hate the workplace. And when they leave and they change the job because they think it's Tom, my boss, or Susie, my coworker, or this particular section, or I can't stand their policies, which is driven by people. And when you don't go over and learn that, you finally go shift the job, because we averagely shifts our jobs every 4 to 6 years in America, even pre-COVID and more likely post-COVID. Then we go over and get into a new job. We get excited and everything gets promoted. And about 6 months to a year in it, it's like, metaphorically speaking. And then we just tolerate the boardroom, then to go eliminate the boardroom. I've been working in a job for about a little over a year. It's actually going to be 2 years in December. And I've had to learn that this is how these people operate. If I want to work well, I go do X. If I don't want to work with them, I do Y. And once I learn about them, it makes it easier. Some things are going to be character issues. Some things are going to be policy issues. Some things are just going to be heinous issues. But the majority of the time, we don't like the people because they're not like us. They can't be. That's how a corporation works. It's a balance of all different types of people. You know, even with my new business that we started Legrity Media, that gets your television show out there to the next level, gets past the noise of YouTube. YouTube's a great start, but it's not the finish. We're on YouTube right now. We love the source, but it's a start. It's not a finish. So you go over in that particular regard. I'm getting really along with them very well, but I'm going to have moments, months and years ahead, that I could have potential issues if I don't learn about myself and I don't learn about others. And then I'll want to leave. So the same thing. So that's a challenge for you to get rid of that roadblock. Roadblock number 4. You don't like the pay. You know, you're maybe getting paid $12, $13, $14, $15, $10, $8.25. I think that's $5.25 is the lowest I've ever been paid. But that was in 1997. You don't like the pay for what it is. Maybe you don't like the pay because of the work scale they're going over you. You don't like the pay because it's overall disgusting and you're not in that place in life. Or maybe it's going over and you're not getting paid enough for the position that you're doing because you're doing it in a different status, especially my military people or reserve or guards people and whatnot. You don't like the pay and you're like you're a GS employee or you're a government employee or you're federal or you're working in a corporation, or done jobs that I've done that it's commission based and it takes 30 to 60 days and you might love the pay, but it takes too long for the pay to come in. Whatever way it is, here's some options for you. Again, take off the fuzzy shackles, because if you are out of active duty military, you are now transforming from war hero to superhero. So ask for a raise. We can do that. Even in the federal sector, state and local government, and all those types of things, there's a qualifying step increase if you've gone over and got 5s across the board for your rating period. So if you find out June 1st that you went over and made that, you can ask for a qualifying step increase. There's also other packages. You can also apply for a new position. Once you got a year under your belt, at least in the government system, you're allowed to usually go up a GS grade or 2, usually about 2 up until you get to 11. So if you're a 7, you can apply for a 9 now. And if you're a 9, you can go apply for 11. You can also change your job, or you can even start a biz. Maybe you love the job, but the thing is that they're capped out on what they can go over and give you because it's just good stewardship of money. Maybe you start a biz and do a side hustle to go earn the rest of the money. Maybe the hours are great, but the you just can't get enough pay out of the situation. Do that. Another quick suggestion: look at your W-4 2019. I'm not a tax consultant, so please reference your CPA and your tax professional when you go and look at this. But in my experience, I have made 88 to 92% of my take-home pay. I learned this the year before I got out of active duty. So even if you're active duty, leverage this now. If you're a GS employee, leverage this now. Go over and look at your W-4 2019 form, which is the form you filled out when you processed into the job. You can always change it whenever you want. You go look at the exemptions. You follow it A to G. They've changed the form a little bit, but basically you fill out those exemptions. If you're legally qualified for those exemptions, check with your CPA, check with your tax accountant, go use TurboTax or whoever you go over and use. I have a CPA through TurboTax. I love TurboTax. They get better and better each and every year. You can go over, actually, tax consultant. I'm trying to think of a guy. I'll put a suggestion. I'll put a tag in there for a good CPA. He's in the vetpreneur tribe, but I'm blanking on his name right now. But basically, I went over and found that out. A friend of mine told me, he's like, you're throwing money away. You're giving it to the government as a free loan. I want to support our government. I want to go over and grow things. I want to support everybody and to go over and grow. But the thing is I can maximize my dollars in other places. So you go over and you look at your W-4 2019 form. You go and fill it out. When I did that, I was having 30% of my money taken out of my check. I went from 70% to 88% on the military side. When I got out and actually did civilian work, I was taking home between 88 and 92% take home. And you're probably thinking to yourself, but I might owe taxes. Most likely not if you do it right. Again, get with your CPA, your tax consultant. Most time, if you claim your exemptions, you're going to increase your take home, and then you go over, and then it's less stressful. And then, yeah, your tax return's less. I have 4 kids. I've made ranges as low as 30,000 taxable. I made as high as 77. I've been offered things higher and whatnot. But until you get to about $150,000, again, check with your CPA. This is just knowledge of me doing taxes, is that most times you're not going to go, oh. But again, check with your tax consultant, check with your CPA, TurboTax, whoever you're going to be using. That could go over and leverage it if you don't like to pay. And the last thing in there, I didn't add this in there, is you can go over and also look at your benefits and look at your overall benefit packages. When they go over and open, each and every year you get 60 days, I think, for open, 45 to 60 days for open season on the government side. On the active duty side, you don't need to really worry about that. But if you're working in corporations, they're going to give you a time of open and time of close. You can adjust a lot of those things and say, hey, maybe I'm paying too much here or doing something here. Maybe I don't need that service or anything. I went into the government system and I'm like, want these, don't want these. And that's how I maximize my pay. Even as a GS employee, I made more than a person that was single because I understood my W-9 2019. I understood my benefits, what I needed on, what I needed my minimals, what I needed off, and stuff like nature. And it helped out huge. I don't earn as much because I got to pay my benefits, but I earn more than the average person. If you just default, leave it on and just fill out 0, it's sometimes wise to read your paperwork. And that doesn't matter what place you go over and do. You might find out that, oh, I owe this money, or maybe I open up a health savings account and I start paying out of there and it's tax deductible before getting taxed and then paying for it. There is many ways to go over and deal if you don't like to pay. Take off the fuzzy shackles, do a little reading. It'll be very helpful for you. Go to your tax consultant, go to your CPA. I'm going to recommend Brandon Cox. Remember his name finally. Brandon Cox, great vetpreneur consultant. I will put it in the feed if you want to connect to him. So, all right, roadblock number 5. I stayed on that one for a long time because I learned a lot in that one. Roadblock number 5 we talked about yesterday too. Your environment squashes the fun. It's just like they just do. It's a suck hole, and you're just like, and you're like, every time something happens, it doesn't happen. And it's like, when we were at the factory, me and my wife, and we put those little widgets together and we got told, stop going over and making this stuff and everything else. You're like, woo, what do you go over and do? Do you just go over and just punch yourself in the skull? So here's a couple things. Utilize breaks. A lot of us work at the desk and we're sitting. I am a floating head right now. We talk about that at Legrity on how to go make your show more popular. You're more movement and everything else. But when you're at a workplace, you're sedentary, like it's at the desk and everything else. Utilize breaks. The average American only works 5.5 hours of productivity compared to the 8. It's expected. Go take and utilize breaks. Why do smokers get breaks? I love you all. You can smoke or not smoke. I love you for who you are. But the thing of the matter is why is it smokers get breaks and other people don't? Utilize the breaks, whatever it is. If you get 2 15 minutes and a half-hour lunch, don't go skip it to go sit at your desk. Get some fresh air. It was beautiful out in Delaware. I usually don't say that too often. It was beautiful out in Delaware today. So utilize those breaks. Get up some outside. Get some vitamin D. The smokers get out often. I mean, they go out every time there is a break, or if there is, go get an air break. Go over and go to the water cooler. Go over and take a walk. Go burn some calories. I know a guy that does 15,000 steps a day, and he burnt 50 pounds off just by getting away from his desk. And he's high up there. He's like working with commanders and those types of things. So, and he utilizes his breaks. Another thing, ask before you do. Sometimes you might want to do something that's fun at work and you didn't go over and ask, and that's why they get antsy. The same thing happens, like the same thing we teach our kids. If you just ask, it's okay to go and do those things. You give the freedom and the latitude, but it's better to ask what the company culture of what fun is and can do and not do. Going over and taking a 30-minute smoke break and not going over and asking, or going outside to go cool off, that might not be that grind. You may be working in a factory. Other places, like this place I work at, it's maxi flex. I had to get used to that. Military was like grind. Now that I'm a GS, I still grind, but I can change my schedule. I can do it the way I want. So just go over and ask. Sometimes a little clarification. You might find out that you have be able to take your PT and go over and add that in there. You might be able to get accommodations for what things you go. You might find out that you might be able to play golf because it might count as PT. There might be some other things. Talk to HR. That's the next one. If things get really hot and heavy and just becomes a toxic work environment or questionable or doesn't go over and feel safe, it is the employment activity office on the government side. There's HR usually in those type of places. They might have some type of other agency that goes over and does that. Sometimes maybe even simpler. HR can get complicated and all those types of things. And maybe that doesn't feel right for you. That doesn't feel okay. It's kind of like going over and going to an outside office, and that doesn't work out for you. Maybe a heart-to-heart with your supervisor and saying, I'm not having fun, because maybe it's the projects you're working on. Maybe it's the workload that you have and those types of things. You might find out that you've been doing too much or doing something else. I had a heart-to-heart with my supervisor during my feedback, and he's like, you're doing what? And I said, yeah. And he's like, you shouldn't be doing all that. I said, yeah, that kind of came down from X. And he's like, yeah, we're going to go get that squashed. And it made my workload a lot easier. And then he knew where I was at, and he's like, what can I do better for you? And he asked. So sometimes even a heart-to-heart, you might find out the fun was squashed because you never had a heart-to-heart. It's going to feel awkward. It's going to feel awkward. The more reserved you are, the more shy you are, you're going to feel that inner stress of going over and not talking to them. But the thing is that once you do, most times, I'm not going to say all, I can't promise for everybody, but all. If you want to learn more, again, we teach on personality style classes. We have tons of leadership courses that we can go over and empower you to learn how to go over and talk to your leadership and how to become a good leader and everything else. Love to go connect and give you that content information. Another thing is booster and morale clubs, or maybe they have certain clubs, like even when I worked at Boeing, they had like several different clubs and kayak and all those types of things. They had fun, other social events. They had like networking things they did once a month and whatnot. Look at those boards. When you walk in places, we just sometimes forget on how many resources one particular agency has. The bigger the corporation, typically the more agencies that they have. And you might find out there's like an entire website or an app or something dedicated to go over and to do. For military people, like there's some morale things that you can go over and do that are outside of work. Like there's the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association. They give a free military trip twice a year in Asheville, North Carolina. They're starting to get out of COVID, so they're doing more freedom with that. The hotel, the food, and everything else is covered, and you have to get childcare, of course. But there's outside agencies. Sometimes companies will go over and say, hey, these outside agencies do this, go touch this. There's adult summer camps now. Come on. And lastly, and certainly not least, report the bad apples. If it's really that bad and the environment's totally squashing it, maybe it's a specific person. Maybe you need to do like an anonymous thing to go over and they need to be some retribution. HR's job is to go over and keep human resource and productivity. So might be they need to have a mediation meeting with you three. It might be going over and maybe some classes to go over and to offer, or maybe it's just that person needs to go over and go. I had that at one work location that it just became really toxic. I was working there like on and again and off and again because it was almost like a contract type work. And I kept seeing it and tried to address it at certain levels, and it didn't go over and work. So I had to go to outside agencies, and then outside agencies got involved in this. This person was really toxic. And then the person that was in charge, these two people were like in different parts of in charge. One was in charge of operations day to day. The other one was in charge of overall operations. They both got let go within months. And sometimes that goes over and happens. Sometimes you need to report the bad apples and it came out. It still took a long time to go build morale up for a while. But the thing is that at least we got the bad apples out and then things started to heal and started to become more fun. And again, work's not always going to be 100% fun. But we're hopeful just to bring that overall funness. Roadblock number 6. We're almost there. I've gone a little longer than usual, but it's okay because you guys always have the option to replay and go watch it. It's always a dialogue. So if you have any comments, want to add anything, we'd love for you to go over and add. Because I hear a lot of you watch, but not much of you contribute. And that's okay. But it's here is a dialogue to go over and to empower you. So if you want to add to the conversation, you have something else to go throw in there. Maybe there's another roadblock you want to go over and discuss, or maybe you have another solution that you're going over and use. We'd love to hear it. Roadblock number 6. You have too many demands. I told you yesterday about that job that I had 50 additional duties. It was absolutely disgusting on how much I went over and had. And I was a government employee at the time, and it was in Washington. And these are the couple things I had to go over and do. And some of them I couldn't. But it depends on where you work, depends on where you're at, depends on what role you're in. Prioritize. I know that's such a word that's used in leadership. Prioritize, prioritize, prioritize. I would highly recommend you build a matrix list of going over and doing that. So you go over and figure out what your normal tasks are, and you go over and you figure out what is stuff I need to do daily, what is the stuff I need to do weekly, what is some things that come in the tyranny of urgency thing. What stuff am I going over and doing because someone's nagging at my door or knocking on my door or right at my cup, going over and doing that. And you need to go and prioritize. For my job right now, I go over and there's like this, I try to get through the email junk, and then I go over and I look at it and I see the goal is for me to get it done in 72 hours. But the thing is you have to go overall prioritize. You got to prioritize. You prioritize for yourself, and you prioritize for what your bosses go over and want. If you're your own boss, prioritize the way you want. As you go and grow a business, prioritize based on demand. So next one is TQM. This is really old, and I learned this in high school, but it's very powerful. It's called total quality management. You ever done fish bones and tea lists and things of that nature? Total quality management is basically learning how to go give quality, but while balancing that with quantity in that sense. So you might need to break out some of those tools to go and figure out, hey, am I putting myself too much work? Am I doing so many other processes? Do I really need to go over and do it this way? Is there a better way to go over and do it? Is there a faster way? Is there an automated way? Is there other people that should be doing this? Is there, if you're in the government still, is there an instruction and a guidance that someone took too far and you're like, hey, it doesn't even need to be that way? That was recently with me. It's like, why are you doing this? This is not in your position description. This is not part of your job. I'm like, well, it kind of is based on the people I'm interacting with. And it's like, no, it doesn't make sense. So that's one. Next one is hire more people. If you have that opportunity to go over and you are the person that's in influence, that type of job, depending if it's government, civilian, corporate, everything else, hire more people. My personal rule of thumb is I've gone over and help tried to establish our own businesses, and now I'm working with Legrity Media and everything else and whatnot. That is totally key to going over and keeping people fun, because there's only so much workload people can go over and handle. There's only so much grind can people go over and handle. My recommendation, what we're doing is we have 35 to 50% of our budget overall is for overall expenses. That includes hiring people. Sometimes it's even 1099 people to go clear out a mess. You might go over, I remember years ago, we, in the government side, DD Form 214s, that's basically telling you when you got to your 90 days or more, and it allowed you to qualify for certain benefits and whatnot. They got ransacked. Everybody was suddenly coming on orders and it was backlogged. They hired more people short term to go over and process the stuff they hired people short term for. I know it's kind of ironic, but it helped out a lot. It alleviated a lot of stress because the full timers were just bogged down. Because if you have, let's say, 20 requests a day and they take an average 5 minutes, 20 times 5 is 100 minutes, not much long of a day. When you're getting 200 requests a day, times that by 5, that's 1,000 minutes. If you're working 10 hours a day, that's 600 minutes. But then you think to yourself, the average person is only productive 5.5 hours, even if they're sitting at the desk the entire 8 hours of the day. We get into lulls, we get into distractions, phones go over and ring, somebody texts us as a notification. You get hangry, people come in. Yeah, hiring more people if you definitely can. If you're the business owner, please leave a budget for those types of things. You got to. Everything in your budget plan should be going over and thinking of scaling, sustaining, and growing, and scalability. I mean, sustaining and scaling and growing. Those types of things should be put in there. So if you have the authority as a business owner, if you're the person that going in, maybe it's a heart-to-heart conversation with your boss saying like, we're really swamped. The load is overwhelming. Go hire more people. Maybe make that suggestion, that particular, depending on the relationship with your boss. And then if all else fails, if there's too many demands, I left that job. I went to find a new job. The demands were too high. They weren't going to get other people. Prioritizing didn't go over and work. There was no quality management systems enough that I could go over and do that. I could figure out one, but then I had others, and it was a tedious list, and there was no way around it. And there was not enough minutes in the day, not enough hours in the day, not enough days in a year, enough the calendar time in my life to go over and do that. And sometimes you do that. And then maybe if those all over conversations happen, maybe the business goes over, or the government agency or the state goes over and does that. A lot of times, especially as us as military and veterans and first responders, we did this in active duty, and we tend to do this too. We dedicate hard to the team and loyal. And I love loyal people. But the matter of the fact is if a business is based on dollars or a government is based on manpower, and we do the extra work and we don't count the hours and everything else, and we don't speak our minds individually, the demands stay huge because we've absorbed it all. And we don't have the wherewithal and capacity to absorb forever. We all are getting older. We all have one life to live. We all want to thrive. So maybe that new job gets the realization that, hey, it was too much. The hours were enough, or you go over and do that. And I know the scariest part of this whole entire thing, I've said new job a couple times. And if you're watching this live or watching this on the replay, I've had 70 jobs from 2012 to 2019. Not bragging, not boasting, just calling what it is. What I learned from this is that if you're aggressive and you have great skills, and most veterans and first responders do, you will find work in some capacity. It can be scary, especially coming out of active duty. I remember in 2012 in going over and starting my business, and then having that first job afterwards because the business kind of flopped and everything else. And I worked in, and at 5 months, they just deleted my position. It was a scramble. It was scary. I almost went homeless a few times. But the matter of the fact is that if you are capable and able, you are faithful, available, teachable, and a servant, and you're out there networking and connecting, you will find work. If you're struggling finding work, come over and connect with me. Connect with War Hero to Superhero. I will connect you in places to go over and to help in that search. I can't guarantee jobs, but the thing is that if you are persistent enough, you will go and find work and resources until you can find that new job. Leave it wisely, of course, But the thing is that you have a lot more skills than what you're marketing typically out there in the resumes and whatnot, and you can do a lot of amazing things. So if absolutely push comes to shove and the fun is just there, again, we talked about the lady yesterday having a heart attack. We don't want you to have a heart attack. We don't want you to have a stroke. We don't want you to go to get taken out or go get hurt or emotionally drained or burnt out and all those other types of things. We want you to transform the war hero to superhero. There's going to be some rough things. Those, no, don't go over and do that. So again, if you need that transformation, hey, go over and connect. I will find you resources to go over and connect. And if I don't, my staff will to go over and do that because I will hire more people. I've already built that in my infrastructure. I'm only handling the first 1,000 of you. After the first 1,000, based on our Patreon plan, then it goes to another person. We do a lot of stuff asynchronously. When you come in person, we do that too, but we want to handle you well. So we work on these principles on a regular basis. And number 7, the last one. I know this has been a long one, but I feel it's very worthwhile. What was your fill in the blank yesterday? Because if maybe these 6 roadblocks weren't there, maybe it was something like the reason why for not having fun is because of X. It could be because of the environment. It could be because of Susie. It could be all those types of things. The best recommendation that we want to recommend you is if one of these 6 roadblocks don't go over and fit, the most important thing is don't go over and do it alone. Talk to a friend, talk to a coworker, talk to a consultant. We give 20 minutes to every military veteran first responder first time. Come over and talk to us. If we can't go over and resolve it, we'll go over and try to find you other resources and whatnot. We're not always going to say we're the best of the best. We're not. We're there to go over and to serve you. And whoever is the best of the best, we want to connect you with. So friend, coworker, consultant, prayer, meditation, those types of things, utilize those tools so you can go over and thrive. There's a lot of great books too on learning how to go talk shift, personality style, things we talked about, really helpful. So don't go over and wait. Our superhero challenge of the day. Again, this was a little long today, but hopefully fruitful to you. I thought it was fruitful for me because I even thought as I was speaking, I'm like, I totally forgot about those things. Superhero challenge of the day. Take some time to think. We have 70,000 thoughts a day on average, each human. We don't express them all the time. Maybe I do. Think. Take some time to think over these roadblocks from yesterday and thinking about some of the solutions that we recommend you. And then apply one of those tactics. You don't have to do it immediately and see if it helps you. We would love to hear if it went over and helped you. And if it doesn't go over and help you, we'd love to go and give you some other options. Again, we are here for you. We go over and want to serve you. We hope this is going on fruit for you. We would love for you to take this message to the next level. Go over and put a heart on there. When you put a heart, people go over and see it in the algorithm. When you go over and do a share, we'd love for you to go over and share. We'd love for you to go over and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. We like to get past 29 views. We got other ways to go and do that. So, but that's pretty much it for now. So again, my name is Daniel Faust, one of the hosts for War Hero Superhero. We thank you for going over and joining. And again, we want to thank Legrity Media for going over and is our powerhouse to the next level. So next month, really exciting. We're bringing in 9 interviewees about going over and dealing with the heat. So when you're dealing with the heat of problems in the boardroom, we're going to bring some subject matter experts to talk about that. If you're dealing with some heat in the bedroom and it's stress and strife, we're going to bring in some subject matter experts. If you're one of those people, love to connect with you. Or in the living room, if you're having some heat with your kids or your kids are having some heat with you, we're going to bring those subject matter experts to interview to bring that wisdom to you. So exciting to watch. And also we're launching on Legrity Media. So if you want to get really in depth and get past the noise in here, this is a great start. When you really want to get there, come to Legrity Media. We'll be doing our soft launch in June. We'll be doing our hard launch in July. And if you want to take your message to the next level, go over and connect with me. I would love to go over and to show you what we got in store for you. All right, so I'm going to let you guys go. It's almost 40 minutes. Woo! Thank you all for watching, live or replay. Again, always a dialogue. Connect. So you all have a good evening, and we shall see you on Saturday at 9 a.m. to go over and talk about what fun things we can go over and do the boardroom, because we didn't recommend what we did. We're going to recommend some fun morale ideas. And if you got some, put it in the conversation. Thanks.